Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P. And for those of you that don't know, this is a Chelsea match review, but more specifically, a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance against Malmo in the Champions League. And of course, we will be joined by my co-host and special guest, not so secret anymore, goes by GNA TV, a big man Jem. But before we get into all of that, I do need to let you know that we do have a sponsor for the show. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Hit them up. The link will be in the description. Yes, and we are live. What's up, everybody? I shouldn't say everybody because who's here? Oh my, that Ankit? Yes, of course. Cool, yeah. Jem, how you doing, brother?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you for having me again. This is something I'm enjoying doing on here now. Just coming on and sort of analysing the games. And don't worry, I'm sure we'll pick it up more and more as we go along. We'll promote it on GNA and yeah, it'll be good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been like we both kind of guest on a few different streams every now and then. And I think this is the one that I enjoy to just talk.
Chill. Yeah.
Civilly, get ideas out without feeling like we have to be at each other's throats to get ideas out. So
yeah,
I really enjoy this time, and like I said, I love having you on it because I think that when I hear you speak about Chelsea, it's always objective, and you always have a great insight to what the club's doing. And we may not always agree, but I always respect where you're coming from, your position on things. But without further ado, I think we should get into the Malmo review. And what were your general thoughts on the game?
Big up to people in the chat. I can see Bex is here, Steven's here, all them. Not big up to all you guys that are in there, man. Thank you for coming in. And yeah, guys, if you can share as well, share on your socials and try and help Couch get to the 200 followers mark, which is the aim for us first. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought the first half was quite poor. And I saw a lot of people at half time, because I always go on social media after. I never go sort of in between. I always wait till the half time and I go on social media to see what people are feeling, right? And I saw a lot of like people sort of picking players and moaning about players and this, that, and the other. But for me, it was just overall just a sloppy half. And there's a couple of things I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later on as to why I think that was the case, to be honest. But at the same time, I thought the second half, it wasn't much better, but for me, it was a bit. I thought we was better with the ball when we was moving forward. And we got the goal, and it was a nice goal. Let's be serious in the play between the three of them up front, from Havertz to Cho on the run. Cho with that beautiful ball across, and Hakim Ziyech. I mean, if he missed that, you might as well leave Chelsea, right? I mean, anyone should be scoring that. But
well, he kind of got that one in the Newcastle game. Like back heels at. You remember that?
Yeah, that's literally 2 yards out as well. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, no, for me, like I said, it wasn't the most prettiest of victories, but it's the type of games that even if you don't play well, but you limit them from home. I didn't even have a shot against Mendy. It was 0 the whole game. If you still limit them and dominate the game in the way we did, but only win 1-0, I still think that's cool. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I thought that I kind of echo those sentiments. I think that also Malmo came out and played different. They were a lot more organized in their football, and it made it harder for them to break. I thought they were better than Newcastle, actually, just in terms of keeping their shape and like pressing high up the pitch. Like they gave us more to think about, worry about, for the first 60, 65 minutes. And then as, they started to get a little bit more adventurous, we started finding a little bit more gaps in behind, and lo and behold, they press, we break the press, Havertz releases Cho, we get in behind and we score. Yeah. And that was all it needed. But I think we should start with the defense. For me, I thought our back three were the standouts once again. Not just because we kept a clean sheet, because they didn't really have much to do defensively, but in terms of recycling possession and most of where the pace of the game was coming from, it was coming from the likes of Rudiger, it was coming from the likes of Christensen, and I think both of them had stellar games. Thiago Silva's Thiago Silva. He's never going to be under an 8 for me unless he makes a crucial error, because everything he does on the pitch is just exceptional. But yeah, I really did think that what we saw from Christensen and what we saw from Rudiger dictating the tempo was a difference maker for me in terms of us recycling possession, keeping next to, like, I think it was 74% for the match. Yeah, they were crucial for me.
Yeah, like I said, we dominated the game, and where I think where it went very well for us is that I think when Ruben Loftus-Cheek played obviously with next to Jorginho, I think Jorginho gave him the sort of freedom to go forward and be active and be creative. And let's be serious.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I'll get into that a bit later. But listen, look, I always say about our wing backs as well, like when they're not offensively good going forward, or they're just not at the level of Reece James and Chilwell for me at playing in that, it makes it very hard, and it limits this system. This system doesn't tick as well as it has the games before, and I keep banging on about it. So when people moan about players, sometimes before you moan about the players, think about the system, think about the players that are playing the system, and why is it not ticking? That's my thing.
Yeah, and I echo those sentiments. I took my cues from you with the wingback play, because you were banging on about Reece James and Chilwell, even when Alonso was banging in the goals and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I was kind of like, well, you can't take him out of the lineup just based on the fact of form. Like, he's doing something for us, but the system wasn't working with those with the Azpilicuetas and the Alonso, and like that was highlighted perfectly by you, and it was only highlighted again this last match because of what we've seen from Chilwell and Reece James the last 3, 4, 5 games, where they've been so influential, not just in providing width, but box presence, ball striking ability. And like, I think Tuchel said it in his post match, maybe a couple matches ago, where he mentioned that they're not necessarily playing as wing backs per se. They're playing as midfielders. And, that little wrinkle, that application to our football has become quintessential to how we score goals, how we overwhelm teams in the final third. And without that, I don't think we have much of an attack right now.
No, I agree. 100% agree.
So, what was your thoughts on Azpilicueta and Alonso as they, their application?
Well, I think I've said it a number of times on my channel and other channels as well, that with Alonso, you know what you get from him. I don't think there's anything, like when you see Chilwell play, you know that there's another level to his game. So if he's not at that level, you know that he can play to a higher level. With Alonso, I just think he's really capped, if that makes sense, in his performances. And it's not even to do with his age or anything like that. I just think his ability as a player is very capped. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying he's not good enough to, come into games like Malmo or cup games, because I think he's okay. He'll contribute to a goal. He'll, do his part. But when you want to offensively be, sorry, I thought someone just walked through the door. When you want to offensively be creative, and you need your wing backs to do that. If they're not doing that, and Alonso obviously struggles to, he scores goals, don't get me wrong. If he gets in the box and you find him, he's a good finisher all day. That's fine. But you need it. You need the creativity to come from that. And how many times in the past can you remember Alonso creating for anyone in front of him? Because I just don't see that. Or, he might score a couple of goals, but he doesn't assist. I think he doesn't assist any. And the same
he's
for
he's the kind of guy that likes to get on the end of things. And we remember him for his goal scoring more so than his defensive work or his creation from the left flank, right? Like, he just scores goals for us. And
the same
very good
with
ball
Aspie as well. It's the same with Aspie as well. Like, Aspie's great. He'll give you a 7 out of 10 performance every game. That's just he's just consistent. But he's consistent at being good at defensively being good. But he's lost his pace, and that's not his fault. He's just got older. And I watched him against Malmo, and it's hard to get him up the pitch as quick as possible when you need someone with a bit of pace to supply or attack that space. And he can't do that. He can cross and he can assist, but he has to be there in that position. When I'm saying about when we're playing the way we are and the way we move up the pitch so quickly, you need your wing backs to be able to operate quickly. And I don't think Aspie's natural instinct is to I've got to run in that space, and take it, and cut inside and cross the ball. Like it's just not that. It's just not that. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, you're bang on. I agree. I don't know if he's a guy that like instinctively understands that he's not necessarily a wing back as much as he is a midfielder or an attacker in this current system. So his link up play, I mean, I know we're going to get there when we talk about the attackers and whatnot, but like I really want to focus on the wing backs just for now, just because I know you share the same opinion with me. Like this system does not work without these guys, and you know, as much as like it is a system and we're dependent on everyone to perform a role, I don't think that we're going to get a lot out of our attackers. Our attackers, if we don't get the application from our wingbacks. And when, for me, and I keep harping on about this, and I know it's not something that's popular amongst many of the Chelsea fans, but I seriously believe that players will always act according to their make, right? So
yeah,
you're not going to get more out of somebody than what they are. It's their temperament. So Azpilicueta is not an attacker. He's a bona fide, like fabulous defensive right back. When you ask him to get forward, his instincts are going to tell him that he's going to be defending when he's there. You know, I mean, he's not necessarily thinking offensively when you want him to be thinking offensively, because you want the freedom, right? And like for him, he's always going to be thinking about, okay, I'll go forward, but I have to be cognizant of what's happening behind me. So you're not really free to just explore and get forward and roam. So I just think that he's not the ideal wing back for this particular system, just based on the fact that we need somebody that is thinking offense first. And I'm sure that's what Tuchel thought when he put Cho there for the while. Like, I mean, it doesn't really work for him, because I think that Cho, he's still given the assignment to think defensively, and he just doesn't have the acumen to think that way. But like, I think the notion was that he wanted him to be more of an attacking wingback, somebody can get forward, overlap, and then be a dynamo in the final third.
I think when you look at the system that Tuchel likes to play, to play as a wingback in this system, you have to be, in my eyes, a hybrid of a bit of everything. You have to be that good, but because you are so relied upon in this system, because the system relies on you to number one, have pace to get up, but also recover and defend when we need be, when we haven't got the ball. Be creative, be able to take a player on, be able to drive into space, and even contribute to a goal. And when I see Chilwell and James arrive in the box now, I think it's like having a second forward. Do you know what I mean? Like another attacker in the box, because you know they're going to score. But when you see Aspie go in the box, what do you think? Like you don't feel like he's going to score. Do you know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to get is to play that position. I think you have to have a bit of everything, and it's a very talented and very niche position in that system. In that system, in the way that you play, you've got to have an abundance of ability to do. And Reece James, he has everything, and even Chilwell. I think Chilwell is good at what he does. They both are.
You hit on right on the head there, like, and I want to go a little deeper in it, because you did say that you have to have a little bit of everything. And would you go as far as saying that this position requires the most versatility in our side right now?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Because they have to get back. They have to go forward. Sometimes they even jump into midfield to cover the space of pockets that maybe a Loftus-Cheek ain't in. For example, like they have to constantly peel. You have to be really fit as well. You play it. Look, you look at Jorginho, for example, or Kante, or people that play in the middle. Yes, they get up and down the pitch, but they're very, in terms of that system, they're very drilled as to when to go or where to be, and it's very central, is what I'm trying to get at. When you think about playing as a wing back, you're having to go back, defend all the way back to your corner flag, but also then sprint forward and get to the other end of the corner flag to be an option. Or if not that, arrive in the box and support your striker to score. But at the same time, if you lose the ball, you've got to still make sure that you can get back into your position to cover the winger that's running away from behind you. So you have to sprint. How many times have you seen Reece James and Ben Chilwell have to literally sprint back because the winger that they were meant to be marking has got space and they make it and they win it back? Do you know what I mean? Or our midfield come across and they double up on them. They double up very well. It's something that's so important, in the way.
Yeah, and in a game like this where we're camped out in their own half, you expect those two to be well advanced. Like I'm talking about like threatening the box constantly, especially because you had like Christensen and Rudiger, basically backing them up and playing as their safety valve, right? And we just didn't see enough of that yesterday. And that was like one of the problems that I had with the system. We just didn't have any wingback play whatsoever.
Well, that's the problem with Alonso, isn't it, though, Couch? When you think about it, because
100%.
he's not a hybrid of being able to go forward, defend, and have pace. He has no pace. He can score a goal, but it has to be in the box, which takes him time to get in the box. If he's out of position, he's stuffed because he hasn't got the pace to recover against whoever's behind him. That's my own. That's why I think, especially in that game, why we struggled as well. It just didn't work as freely as we've seen the last couple of games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And we go into the central midfield position, and we saw the likes of Jorginho and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And for me, I thought they both had good games, but I'm sorry, man. There was only one man of the match, and it wasn't even close as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know, because Chelsea had 74% possession. Normally, the default answer is, oh, Jorginho was dictating the tempo. He was this, that, and the other, and he wasn't that. He wasn't that. It was definitely the center backs that were taking more of the responsibility because Jorginho was marked out of the game. Whoever that what's his name? The young guy that they're talking up.
Yeah.
The blonde kid. He was marking Jorginho the whole game, and the times that Jorginho did get on the ball, he did move it quickly and he did have it ticking over and whatnot. But he was not as influential as we normally see Jorginho in that midfield. And for me, it was all about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He was my man of the match, and not just because he was threatening going forward all the time with his dribbling and whatnot, but he's also he showed his pace, his power. He recovered a lot of balls. And he was the only guy that was really connecting the midfield and the attackers. Missed a few passes to get guys in behind, but overall, I thought he was a fantastic, fantastic player for us. And he was my man of the match.
Yeah, facts. I mean, I said it on my channel first thing. One of the first things I said before I even got into anything, I said, I don't get why Jorginho was man of the match. It was so clear and obvious it was Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And it drives me mad a little bit when you look at I like Jorginho, yeah, but if they're saying the reason he was man of the match was because he dictated the pace of the game, then in my eyes, it's his fault why we were so slow at the beginning of the first half. Do you know what I mean? Because we wasn't moving the ball quick enough,
I actually think it was the opposite. I think it was because we had our center backs dictating the tempo and Jorginho couldn't get on the ball. That was more of what I saw. We couldn't move it fast enough because we were relying on Christensen and Rudiger to be the guy that's dictating the tempo.
Look, with Ruben Loftus, I mean, if we're going to talk about Ruben, you're watching some of the clips here. Not only was he, taking shots and making them passes, but it's the ability to be able to pick the ball up, and as big as he is, we forget how big of a frame he is. You can watch him now on the ball, being able to pick the ball up and do that. Yeah, that for me is the biggest thing, because there's not many players in the Premier League that can move in the way that he does, barring Kovacic to a degree. But even I think Kovacic is good at it. I think he's better than Kovacic at it, a lot better than Kovacic at it, because he moves for someone so big to be able to have the agility to do that and then do that again and then have the space and then have the pace to run into that space as quickly as he does. And not just that, his end product is so good. People were talking about it. He set up Havertz for two of them chances that he missed. Yeah, that come from Ruben Loftus-Cheek, both of them. He for me is the player that I remember. It's when Sarri was here. I was looking at him thinking, this guy's going to be like honestly, I honestly thought he could be world class. He was that good. He had everything. He's another player that he's a hybrid for me. He do everything.
Yeah,
He can
he's
defend.
he's the most complete midfielder we have, and
He's
like it's just the pace that he makes these shifts. Like you're right. He look at this turn here.
Look, that's ridiculous.
Crazy.
But did the ball hit his left foot before he went to his? I don't know how he done that so quick.
I think he just like clicked it back on used his back leg, clicked it onto his left and advanced it forward. But
he was class. And I mean, Thomas Tuchel came out and said when he was asked about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he came out and said that the guy's got too much ability. When your manager comes out and says that he's just got too much ability, look at him. He can shoot. He can hold. He's strong. You can't knock him off the ball. He'll knock you off the ball. You know,
Yeah.
like he's everything. He can header. He can. Honestly, I'm so glad he's playing the way he is because this is the player that we saw at the early stages of his Chelsea career.
And just that's a good point there, VJ. Yeah, he can just glide and dribble at the same time. Like you see that in all these clips here. He glides and he just dribbles. But the thing that I think we all can agree. Like, first of all, it was Malmo. It doesn't matter who you play because it shows that he still has his skill. He has this about his game, and it's something we can definitely see more of. But what do you think going forward now? So I think that he's ascended again in the ladder in terms of like who we want in the midfield. Like I want to see him again. I want to see him against Burnley. I think he can add something to that.
It is, but the one thing that worries me, there's only one little thing that worries me with him. It's the same thing I worry with Christian Pulisic when he starts playing too many games. They can get injured pretty quickly. He was out for, it was only a game, wasn't it? But he missed a game recently. Like he is prone to getting knocked. Why? Because of the way he plays the game. He's a bit like Pulisic.
And his size too.
And his size.
Because
if he goes down.
Because you think about it, like a guy that moves as shifty as he does, for that size, like you don't see that often. Like it's usually guys with low center of gravity,
the last player that I can think that moved like that from midfield was Yaya Toure. Like being able to move that quick and you know how good he was for Man City. Let's remember, he was part of the reason why they were so successful when they were at that era,
And I still don't even think that Yaya Toure had like that overall like dribbling technique that Ruben has right now. Like Ruben just dribbles past guys like nothing.
He just had pace and power. He used to be like that, didn't he?
All right, Jim, it's on you.
Pecking order. Ruben at the moment?
Yeah.
I would probably say that he benches. Do you know what it is, right? I think he can play most games, but I think it's very game dependent, like who you're up against still. Because if you're playing against the Liverpool, I think you probably see someone like Kante come in and Jorginho, just because you want him to be sure in the midfield and be defensively strong. Not to say that he can't, but there was moments in the Malmo game, especially in the first half, where he got caught and he lost the ball because he was trying to be progressive. And we were caught at the back. It's not that they had a chance, but we were a little bit unorganised with it all. And I would say, look, at the moment he should start Burnley. He should be playing next to either Jorginho or Kante. It should always be between them three. Kovacic is out of a hamstring. It could be for a while. We don't know. So this is his opportunity, man. He's the only other one in that midfield that can progressively move forward like that. And we need that. We need that massively.
Yeah. And I think you kind of said it best. It's about managing minutes for all of those midfielders and making sure that they don't get injured. And I know that they basically have a system in place where they say this is how many kilometers you've run, this is how many games you've played in succession, so we're going to have to rest you at this game because of just muscle fatigue and whatnot. And I know Tuchel took part of the blame for overworking Kovacic and leading to his hamstring injury. So I know it's something that they're cognizant of, but I'm hoping that they put it more into practice now because you can trust Ruben now to come into those games and be influential, like really influential. If I had my pecking order right now, I would probably say it's Kante, Jorginho, and then right after that, it's Ruben. You know, like those are the three guys that I'm seeing as being really, really important in our midfield. And that's not to say that hasn't been phenomenal this season.
He's
Like
been
how many
very
assists?
good.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 or whatever, right? But I
Yeah.
just think that what Ruben can offer you as a 6, as an 8, and as a 10, it's invaluable. So anyhow, we
Yeah.
should probably move on to the attackers because I'm sure there's going to be lots of debate here about what's going on up there.
Which one do we start with? Are we going through one each, or we might as well?
Yeah, let's just talk about the unit. Like, how did you think they functioned?
I think it's hard to judge on this game because I feel like I do think it's very system dependent, and I think if you would have had a Reece James and a Chilwell, I think you would have seen that the front three are a lot more fluid. That's my opinion. I agree. I think as a system, they were okay. I wouldn't say they were great. I would just say they were okay. They weren't poor. I don't think they were really poor as a three, but I just don't think they were amazing. But that might, like I said, just be the system thing. So if we're just talking about it as a unit, I do think it's system affected more than anything.
Yeah, I don't think that they were able to link up as much as we would have liked. And I think that a lot of that had to do with the fact that, there was 3 versus 5, and we didn't get a lot more going forward other than maybe, Ruben could, getting in and sitting in behind them and whatnot. But like,
Mm.
it was very hard for them to, because they were just camped out and there was no real room to run into things. You weren't seeing a lot of, interplay between the three of them. It was very individualistic a lot of the times. Um, and for the likes of like Ziyech, I thought that he was muted for portions of the game, but I
Yeah.
still think that he's had one of his better games for us
Mm.
in quite some time. I think that he could use this performance and build on it now. Whether or not he's going to be getting a ton of opportunities with Pulisic coming back and Mason Mounts to come back into it as well, I don't know, but I think that this is a performance that he could use to build on.
Yeah. If we're talking about Hakim Ziyech, my thoughts on him prior to this game. I still think I just feel disappointed with him. And some people say, yeah, but you defend Havertz and you defend all the others, but with Ziyech, you don't. It's not that. It's just that I expect more from him because he's just older. He's in his prime. Like I expect him to just because he can't get. Like in my eyes, he's in a position of his footballing career where he shouldn't be in his prime. Like he should be playing to the best of his ability. All right, you could be very reservant on him because of the league change, but that goes out the window for me now because this is your second season. I always say the first season something that you can just say, all right, fair enough. He needed to adjust, but I'm just not seeing him enjoy enjoy playing in this. I don't know if it's a system thing. I keep saying it or what, but I just don't see that we're getting the best out of him. He's even like his touches on the ball, just not sure. His creation. He even picks the ball, but he tries to do them long passes. They don't. A lot of the times they just don't pay off, and you'd think that's his strength. He's not even doing that properly, And I don't know. Like in this game, I thought he was better than he was in the games. I think the Newcastle game, I thought he was okay, just a little bit lazy again, with staying on sides and things like that. But I just expect more. That's what I'm going to say. I expect more from him. I don't think he had a
I
great
would
game.
I want to comment on that because I think part of what has happened, and I think that it's still being ignored, is he's a winger, right? When we had him under Lampard, I thought he was actually one of our better players, and since we've switched to the 3-4-3 and we're kind of playing with those inside forwards, I don't know if he's influential there. I think he needs space and time to deliver, and we don't afford
We
him
don't get
that
that.
where we play him, right?
We don't get that from teams, though, do we?
He'd almost be better as a wingback for us if he was able to play any sort of like defense whatsoever. But I just don't see him as a inside forward at all. And he doesn't have the time and space on the ball to do what he likes to do, which is like slip people in behind, use his left foot to like curl into the back post and stuff. So as much as and to be honest, like it's not about like just like adapting. Like I just think that certain players are suited for specific roles,
Mm.
and if you can't play that role, you become less of not a
Yeah,
pro, but just less influential. And that's not a knock on him. He's just not as versatile as some other players. It just means that he needs to be in a specific role to see the best from him. Um,
yeah.
but I
I
did
think
think yesterday
yeah.
he did
Go
have
on then.
something to build on because I saw something, and then granted it is Malmo. I did see that he was trying to get on the end of things. Number one, he was trying to like be aggressive in the box. Like there was that one chance that he had in the first half where he kind of like just juggled it past a couple defenders and struck it, and it looked like he could have scored, but the
Yeah.
goalkeeper got down low and saved it. But
Yeah. I think when you look at it specifically this in the way in this system and how we play it and the role that Hakim Ziyech is asked to play in, it's you said something where you said, if he had the space and the time, he'd be more effective. He ain't going to be able to get that in this system unless he's a defender or he's playing a Jorginho role. Because in the position that he plays in, you're constantly having to move. You're constantly having to be an option. But from where he plays in between the defence and the midfield. So if he goes far, he's got a defender on him. If he comes deep, he's got a midfielder picking him up. He's not going to have that moment to be able to just get the ball and who's running for him and he look around and then make his decision. He has to think quicker and to play in that forward line, you have to be that. And this is why Callum Hudson-Odoi, we're going to get to him now. It works because he has this quick thinking. He knows someone's coming, can flick it around him and take another player on quickly. And he hasn't got that brain, if that makes sense. It doesn't. He's just not that quick in thinking.
yeah, and I think with Callum, he has more of a complete package because he's faster, he's a better dribbler, and he sees the pitch a little bit better. So I think that it's a tough comparison because I think that what makes Ziyech, um, a player in the squad right now. I was trying to find a word like a superlative, like,
A
but
bench warmer. Oh dear,
what makes
Mo's
him
in
a,
the chat.
a,
He's probably
a
getting the up
player
right
at
now.
Chelsea is because of what he can do when he's
Yeah,
given time and space on the ball to deliver. And what made Callum special is because he's a dribbler. He's a guy that like tries to, you get him into tight spaces, and he should be
yeah,
able to work his way out of it, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the difference. But on Callum though, what did you think of his overall application in the final third?
I thought his overall application in the final third was. I mean, the goal was very good. That pass was something I want him to do more of. If you want my honest opinion, I think his final third shooting and sometimes his decisions in passings are still not perfect, but that doesn't mean he's bad. It just
Hmm.
means that he needs to work on that. And people forget that he is still very young and he's not this complete player. And you're not allowed to say them things that I've just said because he's playing really well. How can you say that? But let's be serious. Every player in that team can improve in some sort of way. And all we're doing is just
Yeah,
highlighting. We're just highlighting it, and at his age, he'd probably even say, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I need to work on." Like when you're young, you know that you've got room to improve, and with Callum Hudson-Odoi, providing he gets the minutes, he can show us that. But he needs to be a bit more effective in front of goal. For me, he needs to be a bit more, let's say, clinical in front of goal. But he needs, yeah, I'd say more clinical, and not just that. He needs to sometimes just make the right decision and not always look to go backwards. I want him to be a bit more direct in his game, and he can do that. I just think
yeah,
he needs to stop relying on your wing backs. I think because you've got such good wing backs behind you, it's easy to rely on Reece James and Chilwell to be your outlay all the time. So it's easy to just go that left and then pull
mhm.
aside and do a 1-2 and then run off them. I don't want that sometimes. I want you to just hold it. Forget Chilwell's made the run. Let him maybe drag that defender and you see that space that he's made for you now. Run to it. Do you get what I mean? Like that's the
No, I
kind of thing I
totally know
want
what
to
you
do.
mean. It's decision
Yeah.
making, right?
Yeah.
I think the argument about like, oh, he's young and he needs time. I think that just comes from the fact that we haven't really seen much of him in his preferred role. Now that we've seen him in a run of games, I think we have a little bit more to go on where we can say, well, this is what he needs to work on. This is what he needs to, get better at. And from what I saw yesterday, it's true. It's the decision making. You want him to be more decisive and quicker to get to those decisions in the final third because he has everything. Like he's a guy that like if he gets one on one, especially against a Malmo defender, you expect him to get to the byline. You expect him to cut. You expect him to like dribble past him and put in a telling cross. He did for the goal, obviously, but like from the left, I expect him to be more of a guy that like investigates space, a guy that like gets into these like real dangerous areas and gives us
Yeah.
something
I don't know if you could,
to think about.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you could share this at the moment because you remember when I said earlier in GNA TV about how it's important to have a bit of eye test, but at the same time look at stats. And I think it's so important that when you do this, you have a balance because it's easy to see someone do a lot of dribbles and it look really good, but it's the end product, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
output. What is going on? And when you look at Callum Hudson-Odoi's start today, and obviously this was just yesterday, my boy Kavkas has done this as well. You know, he's played 10 games, he's only scored 1, and he's only assisted 2 goals in 715 minutes. When you look at them stats based on assists, goals, and minutes played and appearances, that ain't that great. It ain't, you know, as much as we've been rattling on about how good he's been, yeah, that don't look the most prettiest when you think about it. But it's
Yeah,
what you see on
but
the
with
eye.
that,
Do you see what I mean? It's
the
what you see
games
on the
that
eye.
he's got the last
You
2
know,
assists on in the Champions League is when he's been getting the most run of games. He's not just coming in, coming out, coming in, playing wing back. You know, like this is his chance now to show his value as a left-sided player, what he can do for us. And I think that he's actually taken the opportunity. Like he's
no,
actually
yes, no, don't get me
helped
wrong.
himself.
For me, he deserves to start. I'm not. This is not my thought process right now. What I'm trying to get is what I said earlier in terms of he's having the appearances now. Obviously, we were just talking about output, final third. What we want to see more. This is why. Yeah, this is why because 1 goal and 2 assists in 10 appearances, he can do better than that. We know he can. He can do much
Yeah,
better than that.
yeah.
You know, especially from a full
I'm
ball.
not sure if these particular stats tell the whole story, just because
Yeah,
we've seen him a lot at wing back, and we haven't seen him in his preferred role. I
that's
would like
true.
to see what it looks like in the last 4 games, like what he's been doing, how he's been creating, and there's also opportunities that he's created for others that haven't led to more assists. Like that goal that Werner scored, that was a goal.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I
as
hear
much
that.
as I hate to admit it, yeah, yeah. I liked Callum's game. I really think that he needs to be a better decision maker and more decisive, like quicker
That's
decisions in
it.
the final third, because that's where he's going to make his most impact and he's going to be the most dangerous. If he can like just take decisions quicker and just take on guys and not think about it so much, he's going to be an incredible player for
It's gonna
us.
be
And again,
incredible, man. He's got all. He's
as
got
much as I hate that he's young, he's
he,
20 years old.
him, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Reece James. They've all got the most. When you look at them, they have got so much talent. You just want to see it be unlocked, and the only way it gets unlocked is them playing to their best and playing to their strengths. Play to your strengths. If you play to your strengths and you know what your ability is, and you know that you can beat that man 9 times out of 10 every time. In Callum Hudson-Odoi's case, do it. That's it. Look at Loftus-Cheek. He's doing it. You know, he'll get the ball. He knows he goes on that pitch and he knows that he can beat every midfielder that's in front of him, and he'll do it. You know, and that's why he's looking so good at the moment. Callum Hudson-Odoi is playing very well. He deserves his chance, but I still need to see more from him. I want to see more and more and more. Would be my thing.
Yeah, I'm the same. What did you think of Havertz's game? And well, you know where we're gonna go with this. I don't want to. It's not gonna turn into any like major debate. You know where I think, and it's definitely not coming from a position where I have an agenda. I think the guy's gonna be a fantastic
Yeah.
player for us, and he's given us some incredible performances. Um, I think the last 4 games that we've seen him in, he's playing more of a out and out number 9, which is probably not where you want to see him. We're not really engaging in the half spaces. We're not really giving him the false 9 role anymore. We're playing him as an out and out number 9, and he's got a lot of guys to deal with. We're usually playing a back 5, and he gets a lot of attention. But what did you think of his game against Malmo yesterday?
I think you hit the nail on the spot. I think people always say, "Oh, he's a 9. He should be playing a 9 because he can't play as a 10 because we've seen it with Lukaku." I think that's rubbish, to be honest, as well. I don't agree with it. I just think I think Havertz is most deadly like you said, when he's got someone else next to him that can move like he does, like Timo Werner, for example. I'll bring him into it. Why? Because there's less attraction to him. When you're using him as a false nine or a nine at the moment, playing as like let's say more like a target man, which he's having to do. He's becoming the focal point. You know, just had an entire show on that. Yeah, he becomes the focal point. And does that maybe affect or limit his game? I think it does a little bit because he's having to hold the ball up, and rather than make them runs off that person that's holding the ball, he's having to play people in and link play with people, which is fine. I'm not saying he can't do that, but I just don't think it's his strength. I think we need to see more of Lukaku, Havertz, and whoever, Cho, or whoever it is, Mount. I think if we just allow them to play together and allow Lukaku to be the focal point and just let Havertz's movement do its thing, you'll see a lot more effective Havertz, but not being tracked and being more effective in games. But in terms of the way that he's playing at the moment, I still don't think he's been that bad. I think we can all agree on one thing: he needs to score more. Like I don't think that's one thing we can all say is the thing is he needs to take his chances. And you look at the two chances he had yesterday. For me, the first one he should have scored. But if he didn't take that bad touch at the end, which took him away, and then he took the shot and hit the goalie, I think he maybe would have. But it is that. The second one for me, Loftus-Cheek lobs the goalie, he gets in front of goal. I'm more lenient to them kind of him missing chances like that because he's using his weak foot. You know, so if it goes in, it's a great goal. I'm happy with it. If it doesn't, like it didn't yesterday, it comes off, it doesn't work. You can kind of take it more on the chin because it is his weak foot. But he does need to score more goals. But he also does. I think he does do a lot more than what. I don't think stats can actually back up what he actually does because I don't think there's a stat for it. If that makes sense, because I think his movement's really important, but not just that. Having the ability to drop deep, hold the ball, maybe turn, link, play 1-2s, run into space behind. Even if and I've seen him do it a number of times. He'll run all the way to the corner flag just to make space in the middle. And it's like, you don't want him there. Like, I want him to stay focal because he's the number 9. But he does that and then he comes back on himself. And then you find him that he's like a number 8 again, where he used to play, or number 10. You don't want that. You want him to just maybe be more focalized. But I think it's just because he's not. I think he's quite limited. I think he's just quite limited playing in this current world. But at the same time, I think him doing what he's doing up there has been very effective in us winning the games that we've won. Not Malmo as much, but the ones before, I think he was good in Newcastle. Newcastle, I thought he was fine. I thought he was fine at Norwich. We spoke about the Norwich game. I thought he'd done his bit. All right, he just didn't score, but I still think he's very important, and you can see the talent that the guy's got. For me, I have no problems with Kai. I'll be shocked if we talked in like a year or two and Kai Havertz was just the same player, not good enough. Like, honestly, I think he's that good.
Yeah, I think this is a great point by Rebecca, by the way, and it's true.
Big up to Bex. Yeah.
He's much better, attacking the box late rather than he is being the focal point or the spear of the attack.
That's what I said. Yeah, I agree.
So I agree with this 100%. I would also say that, Havertz to be effective, first and foremost, he has to get stronger. He just got to get stronger. Like right now, even if we played him as a false 9, he's still going to have to encounter those center backs from time to time. And he's going to have to be able to hold up the ball better because you don't have a lot of, the way he sees the game for me, he's very cerebral. He slows the game down and he sees it. He'll be like, it's like the Matrix for him. It's like very, right?
Yeah.
So in order to use that skill set effectively, he's going to have to be able to ward off defenders the way that Ruben does. You know how Ruben's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to box you out before I make my next decision. Yeah. That's the aspect of his game that has to come to the fore. It's very, very soon. Well, obviously not this year, but year after year after year, we have to see him put on more strength. And those are the things that I think that will help him immensely to be more effective in the box. But having said that, I still think, of course, we saw the game. He needs to finish. Of course, that's fine. What I need to see, though, is he has to be able to get into the pockets of space, because there's a run that Ruben made towards the left center, and Havertz took a defender away, but the angle was there for him to play the ball into Havertz if Havertz took a diagonal run back into the box area. And he just kept on angling his run outside, and there was no angle for anything else. So I think that, like, just sometimes, while he's great, his movement's great, he's got to be smarter about it.
I
Like, if
think,
you take somebody
yeah,
away, you have to cut back inside and look for that pass. Because I feel like Ruben was ready to release it to him, and he just didn't get the opportunity because the run took him away.
I think the one thing that I actually think he's very good at is what you said there. I think being able to drag defenders out of positions to create space for others, I actually think he's good at. I agree that maybe he needs to work on it more from a striker position. Maybe that's just because he's just not a striker. You know, you're asking him to do something that maybe he's not the run that he's not maybe used to making that run. But I agree, he could do that, and that's something he can improve on his game massively. We know that he can score more goals as well, but I just think that I think he's more useful than what people think. Like when he plays, I just feel like in the way that we play, in the system that we play, that he can be very effective. A lot of people said, you know, when everyone's fit, he goes on the bench. Maybe to a degree, but you get him firing, I think he puts everyone on the bench. That's my honest opinion. I think he's that good when he's on his game. And I think about the Real Madrid game, which all right was a little while ago at home in the Champions League. What he did to that Real Madrid team for 90 minutes, I don't think any other player other than Pulisic could have done. Like that whole 90 minutes, he literally took the game by the scruff of the neck, and he was running at him, he was nutmegging him, he was doing what we were asking him to do. He lobbed the goalie at the bar, and Werner scored from it. Like, do you know what I mean? He was so effective, and he had so much talent.
We need to see that. We need to see that.
Yeah.
That application more consistently.
More, yeah.
And
yeah.
I know I mentioned it before. I'm not about this. Oh well, he turns it on in January and February, and that's when you're going to see the best of Havertz. That doesn't fly. Like
No, he needs to be
in the Premier League,
he needs
we're
to be
trying
more
to win the title.
consistent. He needs to be more consistent.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Like
He can't go through slow starters. He can't, because that won't get him anywhere, especially in the Chelsea team where you need to be firing from the beginning to get your spot. You know, if you're not fighting for your spot, or if you're not firing, you're on the bench. How are you going to get into form if you're on the bench most of the time?
And that's kind of like the crux of the whole thing, right? Like everyone's saying, well, he gets better in January, but like by January, Pulisic could be up and running. You know, Werner might be up and running. You know, so where are we getting the opportunity to see Kai get into this incredible form, and whether or not that's even like we're competing for the title. It's a lot harder to win the Premier League than it is to win the Champions League for me, because you have to be consistent from game 1 to game 38 for the most time. Whereas in the Champions League, you can get on a hot spell from like March to May and win the title. You know, like, and that's basically what we saw, right?
Yeah, I just think when you look at his talent and what he possesses on his day, if he's on form and doing his thing, I think he's our best forward. I know that's a big statement, but if he's playing to his level, he's better. For me, he's better than Mason Mount. He would be better than Ziyech. Maybe Werner, probably Werner.
But when you say better, like what do you? Because like I think Mount has things that he does that
I just think a Mason Mount on his day versus a Kai Havertz on his day. I think the Kai Havertz it's more. Do you know what? It's probably more of a preference thing, because there's no real right answer to this. I'm not saying I'm right because I think Kai Havertz is the best. It's just what I see and what I've seen on when they're at their full best. When he's at his full best, he's just. I don't think we've got that type of player, and I don't think that type of player is actually around in the world. If he can get himself to that level, because he is so tall, but he has the pace. Like you said, he has the matrix. He slows the game down, but he slows it to a point where he makes it look so easy. You know, he'll do things. And I remember at the end of last season, he was doing things where like he's passing, he's running off the balls. Just, you know, the way he was scoring some of the goals. Even the goal he scored recently where he chipped the goalie. I can't remember what it was, the recent goal where he lobbed the goalie. It was like a little dink over the goalie and hit the post and went in. Was it Malmo at home? I think it was Malmo at home. Yeah.
Yeah,
not many players think to do that anymore, you know, but he will, you know, and that's what
that's his go-to though. Those little chips and stuff like that. That he either rounds the keeper or he tries to chip him. Like I've never seen him try to like strike it with power.
Well, no, but I'd say 8 or 9 times out of 10, a lot of the players would think to just put their foot through it, you know, in them positions because they're rushing. With him, like you said, he slows the game down to think, oh, actually, I'm just going to do a little, and the rain will take the ball like he did against Malmo, and it will just hit the post and go in. He needs to do that more. That's what I'm getting at. If he does that more, then you'll see the player that I think he can become. If he doesn't, then he will be a bench warmer. That's all. That's it. That is it. It sounds stupid, but that's it. You know.
Always insightful, my brother. We will always be going back and forth at this, not in a negative way, because I agree with a lot of what you said.
No,
I think that he is a talented footballer, and we just have to find. I think he's got to get stronger first of all, but we also have to find the exact role that he can flourish in. And I don't know currently. And maybe this is why we get so much. Why Lukaku gets so much flack, is because he's basically sitting in that role where we want to see Havertz, not necessarily as an out-and-out number 9, but the space they occupy would be similar, right? And you probably get people dividing opinions based on the fact that, like, you can see what Havertz can offer, but because Lukaku, this lug in the middle, is sitting in that space, it makes it very difficult to utilize it.
He's too static. I don't want to keep talking about Lukaku because I think he can kind of adapt it. I'm not saying to adapt to Lukaku, but he can adapt to the system a bit more and just in his own game, you know, maybe move a bit more or be a bit more not static. Because when he's static, it's very easy for defenders to just watch the run of Havertz or Werner because Lukaku's not moving. You know, we know he's going to be.
It makes the game
front
easier, but especially when you're playing a low block. But that's not necessarily Lukaku's game, and I'm sure that's not why we bought him, because he's never really played that way. It's just we want him to get on the end of opportunities, but the opportunities aren't being created at a high enough rate because of how he plays the 9. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
It's silly, but do you know what's really
but
weird?
We should move on. Like I wanted to quickly preview the Burnley game at the weekend, just because I have you here, and you know, we definitely need to get into that and see what you think we're going to be up against.
A very organised Burnley, who are not in the greatest of form at the moment. They did beat someone 3-0 though, didn't they? I can't remember who it was as well. It surprised me. So
it was Brentford. But I think that was because Brentford had the midweek, right?
Maybe, so. But the one thing I would say about a Sean Dyche Burnley is that they're very old school. They're an old school squad team in the way that they play. They will sit back. They all know what their jobs are. You know, they'll make it hard. If they have to play 5 at the back, they will. They have no issues with hoofing the ball up the pitch and Chris Wood just headering the ball to nowhere and chasing it. Like, that's the kind of team they are. Like, and that could be frustrating for us if you do not move the ball quick enough and you start doing sidewards, backwards, and don't attack any space or at least make space by running. You know, so I think we can beat them. And we need to win because we're going to international after this. After this, it's international, and then we come back and it's Leicester, Juventus, and Man United. Yeah, that's not easy games. The next 3 games, so it's a massive game in terms of the points and us obviously holding the top. But I expect us to beat them. I think we have enough to get the job done. I expect us to play a fairly strong team. There was talks about maybe even Timo Werner might be back. I think. You know, if he is or he isn't, Havertz is probably going to have to again start. Unfortunately, he's started every blooming game, but he's going to have to start. And, you know, and I want to see if Mason Mount's back. Mason Mount and Callum Hudson-Odoi. They're the 3 I would go with. I would give them room. Hudson-Odoi for the running, Mason Mount for the work rate, and Kai Havertz for his movement. Just see what they do.
What do you got in the midfield?
The midfield, I'd throw Ruben and either Kante or Jorginho in with him. One of the two. Do you know what I mean? Because I just don't feel like you need 2 defensively minded midfielders against the Burnley, because you actually lose the progressiveness from it, because all they end up doing is getting the ball, and because they're not very good or you know, they can't take a player on and things like that, it's easy because they just want to pass left, right, you know, maybe do a little one forward. I don't want that. I want Ruben on there who's going to run at this low block team that's just going to stand there and go, come on, and try and open up space, because that opens up space. You know, when you run with the ball, people run after you. Do you know what I mean? That opens space already. Do you know what I mean? That little movement opens up space. So Ruben and Jorginho, Ruben and Kante for me. I want to see Reece James and Chilwell back in that team, because that will help massively in beating this Burnley. And then I don't really worry about the back 3, 4. I don't care. Like, it's just whoever. It's got to the point now.
We don't have to worry about the defenders because for the most
Yeah.
part, they've been excellent. That's been the strength of this team so far. In the midfield, I actually think, yeah, I kind of want to see Ruben and Conte for this game,
Mm.
mainly because I think we need more movement in that midfield.
Yeah,
And
Kante. Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of Conte pressing high, George and Ruben sitting back, and then vice versa, Ruben, marauding forward and getting into those dangerous areas. I just don't know if we have three defenders, the likes of Silva, Rudiger, and whoever else is on the right. I don't know if the likes of Ashley Barnes or Chris Wood are really going to be that threatening. Like Brownhill, like I don't know, like
They'll,
it's a
they'll be
game
so
where I
deep.
feel like
Yeah.
we could be on the front foot for 90% of the game and not feel threatened. And
No,
if
no, but
that's the
what?
case,
Yeah.
then what is the point of having a holder in there?
No, I agree, and that's why I agree. Kante and Loftus-Cheek would probably be my preferred two. But in terms of Chris Wood and the defence, I think all they will do is sit, but they'll be so deep that they'll just hoof the ball up the pitch, and whether they play the one or the two will be the difference. Because if they play the two, they might be able to play off each other and then work their way up the pitch with the two strikers. I don't think they will. I think they'll play with the one. If they play with the one, all we end up doing, I've seen us do it so well, is that Thiago Silva presses in from it, and then the other two sort of cover behind. So if the ball drops behind, they pick it up, and we've got control of the ball again. That's how we defend. It's so obvious if
And
you've
there's
got Thiago.
nobody to pick on in that back three.
Yeah,
Like if they try to
yeah,
pick on Rudiger, you know what's going to happen there.
yeah.
And we
You
haven't
can't bully
really
it.
been playing with Aspilicueta as a right side of wing back or
Mm.
right side of the center back in quite some time now. So the likes of Chalaba or Christensen are just as good in the air. Like Christensen,
Fine.
I should comment on this first of all. Christensen's been fantastic the last 4, 5, 6 games. Like fantastic, like close to our best defender. If I'm not being too
Right.
hyperbolic.
I still put him third though. I still say Rudiger and Thiago Silva have been
Oh yeah,
really,
yeah,
really good. But I think Christensen's he surprised me. As much as I call him Krusty the Clown and I take the piss and whatever else, I do rate him because I don't have no issues with him. I think he's very talented. He's actually progressing very well and nicely at the age of 25. He's coming into his prime. We could really have a top defender on our hands, and I just want to see. I want to see how they go for the next season or two because I do think eventually we might have to switch our system. Then what happens? So I want to see these defenders that are playing so well in this system be able to maybe adapt if we have to adapt. So we'll see.
I mean, as you get more confidence, he's playing sky high right now, and it's not like we haven't played it with a back four before. It's just that our midfield was just so porous, So when
Yeah, I
you're
just
talking
think the four and
system,
the three is still different though. It's a
sorry,
different thing completely. I think the four and the three is still different though. Like
yeah,
Rudiger's
sure.
always said that he prefers the three than the four. He's more comfortable in playing it
No,
for whatever reason.
and I'm sure Rudiger
Yeah,
said the same, and Christensen just looks great in the three, and of
yeah, he
course with
does.
Thiago Silva
Do
at
everything.
his advanced age,
Do everything,
like you
can't
probably
he?
want
Yeah.
rather see him in a three than a four, but he's Thiago Silva, so it doesn't matter to
He's
me.
you
Yeah.
said it right there. He's literally Thiago Silva. Apparently, Varane's out for over a month. It just said on my phone with a hamstring.
Oh
So
wow. Not that I mean,
it don't bother us, but we have got them
has he
against.
been as influential as they expected him to be? I don't think so.
Not really. I think I said it from day dot. I think he's overrated. I
Yeah.
don't think he's as good if he's not next to a Ramos or top players.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you need a boss next to you to play
exactly.
that back four.
Someone to just lead you.
So, do you have any score predictions?
Uh, I want to see goals. We was a little bit thingy in front of goal against the Champions League. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-0 again and we made it really hard to break them down because we were too slow. But if we move the ball quick enough, play the right team, and are effective going forward, I think we will win 3-0. So it's either 3-0 or 1-0 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right in the middle and say 2-0. I just think that's a good scoreline for us. We usually come on late, and I feel like with Tuchel, the first half is always just controlled caution. We get forward, but we don't necessarily really crank it up until the second half where we put more pressure on the back line. And I feel like that's going to be the same. I don't know if he's going to be being as cavalier as we were against Norwich or Newcastle, for that matter. Well, even Newcastle, it felt like we turned it up in the second half. So I'm saying 2-0, and I think we're gonna get. I'm gonna call it, man. Ruben's gonna score, man. He's gonna do. He starts, he plays.
And Havertz.
And Havertz. It'd be nice to see Havertz get on the score sheet too.
Man. Go on, Havertz.
But guys in the chat, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I mean, everyone that's here already knows who Jen is, and it's probably already like supporting his page. But if you're not, please do. It's all in the description there. And he kind of are you still doing the daily streams, right? Or is it just like before matches?
Yeah, no, I'm doing obviously doing the normal 1 o'clock streams that I do every day for everyone. But tomorrow we'll probably do a Premier League show, which is something we need to do. And then Friday we'll go into the preview for the Burnley game. And Saturday I did promise these guys that I'll do a watch along, first ever watch along for the Burnley game, Chelsea Burnley game. So it's still a good chance that will happen. However, I have got to go out literally an hour after that. So I'll be one of them ones where I have to like rush around to do it. So I'll have to let you guys know.
You get the the watch it, and you're like, all right, guys, everybody out.
yeah, literally. So I know everyone's like Bex is already saying in the chat, watch along. Yes, I know. I did promise them that. So I can't go against my promise for my viewers because they did get me to 3K. So thank you very much for that, guys.
Big up, man. Yeah.
But make sure you subscribe to Couch Fan. We need to get him up to 200 subscribers, guys. We can do that.
200 would be great. So. But I'm pretty sure everyone here is also subscribed. So I'll post this on my page, and if you can do the same, it'd be great. And hopefully we can get that up to 200 because that is a milestone for me. I've been doing this for a minute.
We'll get you there, mate.
Really, just a hobby. I just love talking football. But
all right, let's do that.
100%. That'd be great.
100%, mate.
But anyway, folks in the chat, thanks for coming by. It's been a great conversation having Jem as always. We'll be back again. What is it? Do we have a cup game in the midweek? No, it's after the international break.
It's Burnley, and then we've got the international roundup. So we'll be talking about the Burnley game, and that's it, really, isn't it?
We're mainly just doing the cups for the most part, right? So unless you want to do an international break, chat. Well,
we've got. That's what I was saying. We can do one next week for the Burnley game anyway, because we'll be playing Saturday. If you want to do a preview, we can do that earlier in the week. Not a problem. Definitely get that done.
All right, guys. We'll look out for it. And thanks again for stopping by. You know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high. Up the Chelsea. Peace.